read. Hello, guys. I haven't read in a long time, and today I want to be reading the book, my favorite book for the month. Remember, Deadly Emotions by Don Colbert. As I read the book, I'll go on to give examples and try to elaborate on what my understanding is telling me. I'm on page 99 of the book, Anxiety, Overcare, and Fear. He says, I read, is it possible to care too much? Yes, overcare describes a condition in which a person over-identifies with or becomes over-attached to what he cares or she cares about. It's at that point that care becomes overcare. The person who is the recipient of overcare activity is under a great deal of stress. So is the person who does the overcaring. When care turns into overcare, its recipients begin to feel worried, anxious, guilty, threatened, fearful, and even angry. Overcare actually makes a person feel as if he's just eaten 5 pounds of chocolate. He feels smothered and seeks to escape. Doug Childre has written, most of the time when people get anxious, angry, overreactive, or manipulative, they are caring about something, but in a draining and unusually ineffective way. The mind turns our genuinely caring intention into a mental and emotional drain. Close the quote. Our grandparents' generation, they used to calm themselves by saying, live and let live. In our generation, however, we tend to do just the opposite. Like the tiny child who loved her pet chick so much that she squeezed it to death. We hold everything too tightly in this era we live in. One of my patients seemed to be a professional when it comes to overcaring. Brandy was a pretty woman, tall, thin, with long black curly hair and personality that lit up whatever room she entered. Everyone loved to be around Brandy. She could turn even the most mundane event into a party. So why did Brandy, who was nearly 50 years old when I met her, have no prospects for marriage and a long list of past heartbreaks and painful relationships? The main reason was her overcaring behavior. She had so much passion and zest for life, and she wanted a relationship so desperately that when she finally landed a guy, she sent him running for the nearest exit with her overcare. She began every relationship with a premature assault of calls, gifts, letters, notes, and other tokens of her affection. She took it upon herself to meet all his relatives, call all his friends, and make connections with all of his connections. If his head wasn't already spinning, she would change anything about herself that she thought he didn't like. Once, while dating a particular man who liked country music, she began to wear denim and cowboy boots and even purchased a horse. Imagine that. She had never sat on a saddle in her life, and she didn't really enjoy things Western. But she felt she needed to change because she cared. Men in Brandy's lives experienced tremendous anxiety in the wake of her overcare, and they all backed off as quickly as possible. Brandy was left with exact opposite of what she truly desired. As a consequence of her overcare, she was miserable. In many ways, we have become a society infected with many people who overcare. How does overcare relate to fear? It is rooted in fear of some type of loss. Perhaps loss of control, loss of one's identity, loss of not achieving what a person truly feels he needs or she needs in order to live. Brandy had a fear that if she didn't find a guy to marry, she would not have the life she deeply desired. Always at the root of overcare is a long term and abiding fear of abandonment, rejection, and loss. When we respond to these fear generating emotions in our lives, we set ourselves up for a pattern of behavior that not only makes us psychologically unhealthy but can make us physically unhealthy. Remember, we are talking about deadly emotions. Holding too tight to a relationship squeezes the life out of the relationship. It scares off the person that you claim to love. If you reflect back, you can reflect back to your childhood and say, where is this clinginess coming from? Where is this over caring behavior coming from? As a child, did I feel rejected? Did I feel abandoned? Did I feel unheard? I feel unnoticed? Where is this tendency to hold too tight in a relationship coming from? Because then when you start texting so many times, calling so many times, WhatsApping so many times, and holding on too tight, the other person may feel claustrophobic, may feel crowded, may feel they can't breathe, they may feel they need space. And when they start avoiding taking your calls and they don't respond to your text messages and they don't return your calls, they're trying to send a message to be saying, hi, I'm failing to breathe. You are squeezing too tight. I cannot be myself. Over identifying in a relationship can create problems rather than enhance the relationship. Watch out when you have tendencies to overcare, because overcaring causes you to want to cling too tight to the relationship, to want to know where the person is at every moment, what they are doing, with whom they are with, and why they're not answering the calls. When you call and somebody miss your call, they're going to see that you had called. They're going to return your call. But in a situation where you end up calling 50 times, 30 times, 25 times, 15 times, and the person who takes their phone, they find 50 missed calls, that on its own is saying something is psychologically wrong, something is unhealthy, and they will run for dear life. Overcaring could be a symbol of fear of abandonment, fear of rejection. Pause and ask yourself, how did this behavior develop? Does what you're experiencing now take you back to a time past in your life when something triggered such an emotion that made you want you to hold too tight? And what was that? Could it be something from your previous relationship? Could it be you underwent or you been in a relationship where there were trust issues? Or could it have been that in your childhood there were issues of abandonment? The person may not necessarily be avoidant, they may not be disorganized attachment, they may just be feeling suffocated by your overcaring. Take time to reflect, take time to process, take time to pause and ask yourself, if I call so many times during the day, if I go to the extent of over identifying and changing everything about me to be like him, to be like her, and go out of my way to want to meet every member of his family or of her family too soon, and to get swallowed up into that, is it healthy? It may feel healthy for you because you are using it to self-soothe your insecurities, to self-soothe your fear. But switch positions and put yourself in your partner, your friend's position, and ask yourself, if you got so many calls, if you got called so many times, you were not given space to breathe, how could that person be feeling? Swap positions and ask yourself, if you constantly over attaching, you constantly over caring, yes, that's your way of trying to express and to show that you care. So you are over caring, and over caring can even chase away the person that you want to be part of your life. And over caring allows you, or facilitates, enables you to over identify with a person. Until next time,